Towards the back, sort of third last, but we've got a couple pretty close, so we've got to do well today to sort of beat Bondi Tram and try and pick a point on Yellowbone. But yeah, lighter stuff, it probably won't really suit us that much today, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, well, we're currently sitting ninth, and there's a chance we'll get up to 8th, so we're only a point away from 8th, so we'll have a crack at that.
I'm currently sitting 8th, and the main rivals are Ross is 1 point behind, and then I've got Epic and Clean Skin, who are a couple of about 5 points ahead. So we're going to be struggling to catch them, but I certainly want to stay in front of Ross, which will put me in my third of the Tasmanian spot, which is where I wanted to be, sort of thing.
Going into race 10, conditions had changed. Whilst we'd been waiting for the tail enders to come in, the breeze had picked up and gone round to the right, and it was now blowing in at a good 12 to 15, maybe 18 knots at times, which really livened things up, and the boats really picked up in pace, and it was looking like some really exciting sailing coming in for the last race. Everyone was right up on the line, closely competitive, with Ross, Lano and Kelvin really pushing the fleet up, and everyone was well and truly over. The general recall followed. After the general recall, Richie went off for a bit of a sail and hit the drink in a big way, and it took him a fair bit of time to get up. With the 1 minute signal going, he wasn't going to make it back for a good start, and he was always going to be in dirty air going up the first beat the way he was positioned at that start. In the second start, Adrian was really keen to get a good start, really jumped up on the line and then really looked for a hole and then tried to dive back in it to get back behind the line for the start, but sadly he was a miss in all of those things and just forced the whole fleet up. Beneficiary of this general recall, fortunately it was a general recall, and Richie gets to have the third start for this race 10. Final race of the regatta, race 10, finally got away after 2 general recalls. So on the third start we had the fleet getting away nice and cleanly but hotly contested. We had Siren, Nick Darlow really jumped out of the pin and took off and got 3 or 4 boat lengths clear in great shape, closely followed by Guy, Richie and Ross Daly in 377. Also getting away with clean starts, we had Blown Seal, and the Hitcher did a great job coming up. Coming into the top mark with heaps of pace was Guy in 782, closely followed by Adrian in 369, having a great first work. Adrian and Claire would be in really good shape and be really happy to be up there, close on the heels of Guy at the top mark in this amount of pressure. The next 3 boats were very, very close and coming in with heaps of pace. We had Kelvin, followed by Nick Darla and Robbie and Dave, who were doing a great job in 372. The next battle ensuring around the top mark, Chris Wells and Rani hanging in there pretty well, closely followed by Lano, Richie and Orca was following up the back and keeping the pressure on them. This was a really quick beat. The whole fleet only took 12 minutes to get to the top mark. It was great seeing all the boats get their kites up pretty cleanly and flat out all on sailing, and really a spectacle seeing them go down there at such pace. It was not going to take them long to get to that bottom mark. The top boats were down there in about 5 or 6 minutes. Coming into the top mark, Guy hung on and Richie had closed the gap and was about to put him under the hammer going down in the second run. Not far behind the lead 2, we had Nick Darlow and Kelvin closely on his heels, and both had good sets and took off on a really nice square run, hoping to keep the pressure on the 2 leaders going down here. Next 3 boats around was Lano, closely followed by Robbie and Adrian, who both had great kite sets and were well on the way down the run. Adrian had gone out to the right on the second beat and really hadn't done well out there. There was lack of pressure out there, and he was out there and he'd actually lost 3 boats coming into the top mark. Bringing up the rear at the top mark, we had Bondi Tram and Orca Blush. But they weren't that far behind in time. They were just the boats were just really quick, and the distance might have been great, but the time wasn't. The fleet was really quite close, and the boats were really on the pace going down that run. At the end of the second run, Richie had done a great job and passed Guy and held on to that lead and extended it coming into the top mark for the 3rd time. Coming into the mark for the last time, we had Guy hanging on to 2nd with a clear lead over Kelvin in 3 and Lano in 4. In 5th place we had Nick Darlow, closely followed by Robbie. So at the start of the last run of the day, we had Richie in front and he wouldn't be headed, and the first 5 boats would not change places down the run. Robbie and Dave, who'd really trying to push the bounds, they were right up with the leaders, hanging in there well when they put the boat in on the final set, and that cost them dearly. They lost 4 or 5 places doing that. In 6th, Home came Steve Miller, hanging on pretty well, closely followed by Chris Wells, and we have some great cam footage of Adrian and Claire coming down the final run to the finish. 9th and 10th, we had Anthony and Robbie and Dave followed in 10th. Coming across the line for a flying finish, we had Ross Daly, closely followed by Tim and Megan Grant in Be Alert. Jeff Walden, despite being well back in the fleet, really came down with some really pressure and put on a great sight as he came across the finish line to finish the final heat, with Steve and Adrian rounding up the field. It's been some great racing today, and it's time to go and celebrate with the winners in the boat park. That's all for us on the water.
Coming across the line with a bit of pace on, with the spinnaker flying, was a great way to finish off the regatta.
3 of the upwind beats, and just came around top mark the last time, put the kite up and it flopped over the side into the water, and we ended up capsizing and lost about, I think we were in 5th at the time, so a bit disappointing, but it's the way it goes, I guess. We've learned a lot, so it's been a good regatta.
Last race we got a 3rd, so how that affects our score, I got no idea, but a good way to finish the regatta. It was a blast.
We're really happy overall. I think we've ended up with 5th place, which we're pretty stoked about, and had a nice breeze to finish it off.
We had a really good start to the series and a not so good end to the series, but overall we had a good time, and we're very happy to be on the podium at the end.
Well, we finished today with 2 wins, so I suppose you could call us late bloomers.
We've had a couple of seconds before, but it's been a little while since we have, so it's good to get back up there.
It's our best nationals for a fair while. So,
yeah, pretty good. Pretty good to get my first national title win. So, yeah, pretty stoked.
Yeah, we're wrapped. Really wrapped. It's good. Another nice day sailing on the Tamar.
No, I didn't know about that bit. Where was I? Yeah. Race committee did you know about that bit?
That bit? No, we didn't know about that bit. Yeah, race committee needs a thank you. Yacht club needs a thank you. Tim, the cameraman, needs a thank you. It's usually a pretty big effort to put on a regatta, and there's a lot of volunteers involved, so a big thanks to the yacht club. Big congrats to the yacht club. Big congrats to Adrian. Did a lot of work.